It's going to take all the non-cognitive skills. All the non-cognitive skills to be great. You know, smart is good, all this stuff is good. That's all cognitive.
How many people in your immediate environment, those people who are in your sacred circle, represent people who are on the same mission as you? Or do you have a bunch of people on your list who are not on the same mission as you, and those individuals are pulling you down?
So one of the very best ways that you can develop the discipline of clear thinking is to sit in solitude for 30 to 60 minutes when you have a major problem or a major issue in your life.
You've got to show up when everyone is behind you. And you've got to show up when it feels like everyone is against you. You've got to show up when you feel like you're winning. And you've got to show up when you feel like you're losing it's your time. And it's your turn, but you're going to have to be willing to. Endure the temporary struggle, you're going to have to be willing to. Deal with the negative chatter in your head because it's not going away. You've got to manage it, you've got to confront your fears, you've got to confront your doubts. Success is not going to be handed to you, nobody owes you anything. But you owe everything, you owe it to yourself to hang in there. When it gets hard, you owe it to yourself to get up every day and grind.
It's the non-cognitive skills that set you apart from everybody else. And that's what it's all about.
Talk to me about what it takes to be on one side of a door in Iraq or anywhere, knowing on the other side of the door people who are not afraid of you. They're ready for you to come in, and and they have guns, and you still have to breach that door.
That's a great question. That's a very scary situation when you are on one side of the door and your mind is racing, because on the other side of that door, it could be no one. It could be 4 guys with 4 AK-47s. That door you're about to open could be booby-trapped. So once you open it, boom, your legs are gone. So there's 1,000 things you think about when you're the first guy, second guy, third guy.
E.T., how do you do what you do? I have cut off the people who are not on the same mission with me, and yes, they are very upset, and yes, they said some nasty things about me, but guess what? I cut them off anyway, and I've surrounded myself with people who have the same values, who have the same mindset, and people who want to accomplish what I want to accomplish. It says every day in Africa, in the safari, a lion wakes up. Every single day in the safari, a lion wakes up, right? And every single day in the safari, a gazelle wakes up. I love it. I love it. It says, though, here's what's funny. It says that if you wake up and you're a gazelle, you realize if you're going to survive as a gazelle, if you're going to survive, you must outrun the slowest gazelle. Right? In your mind, you're thinking you got to outrun the fastest lion. That's not the truth. You just got to stay ahead of the slow gazelle. That's it. Right? So every single day when you wake up, whatever it is that you do professionally, you better make sure you're not in the back of the pack. You better be as close to the front.
You don't have time to focus on what other people are saying. You don't have time to focus on what other people are doing. Experiencing a failure feels like a loss. It's not failure. It's your teacher. It's working for you behind the scenes, preparing you for your next win. There is no time like the present to fight for what belongs to your toughest moments are preparing you for your biggest victories. Go after what you want and expect to get it when you are serious about hitting your goals. You don't quit when it gets hard. I don't care how many times you try. Try again. I don't care how many times you've heard no. Ask again. I don't care how many times. You fall, get up. You don't stop.
Getting ready to go in a room and flood it. And that's why I talk about the warrior mentality. And that's why so many people are lost when I start talking. You have the right. You're lucky that you don't have to think like warriors think. You're very privileged. I chose this world to be a warrior. And I would choose it again if I came back to this world. But the mentality of a warrior is very different than normal mentality. You must be that person on that door, get ready to open it, thinking to yourself, if I die, so be it. The only way you can go in that door is knowing there's a great chance you're going to die. It's like being a SEAL. You train with live ammo. You jump out of an airplane. Everything you do, you could die. So to be a warrior, why people don't understand me, I'm glad you don't understand me. Merry Christmas. Good on you.
Solitude has been discovered and rediscovered throughout all the history of man as the most powerful of all thinking tools. You see, if you can imagine a bucket of water with silt in it, and it's all churned up and you can't see anything, but if you leave the bucket of water to sit for a while, all the silt will drop to the bottom and the water will become perfectly clear. This is what happens for you in solitude. If you sit calmly by yourself with no noise, no distractions, nothing to read, just sit quietly, which takes tremendous discipline the first few times you do it, at about 25 or 26 minutes your mind goes clear. And any problem that you've been working on, the solution just pops into your mind. Any issue that you've been dealing with, the answer just comes to you. It's almost like a miracle.
The good skier is 2 or 3 times as productive because he or she is better at the key task. So say, what's the most important thing I do? And get better at it. It's the most amazing thing. I gave a talk yesterday for business people, and I can speak for 8 hours. I often do full-day seminars. I had 12 minutes. So what I did is I took a whole series of ideas and I condensed them around 3 key ideas and 3 graphs, and did the whole thing in about 12 minutes. And they said it was one of the best talks they had ever given, because they just pick up the pace, they go really, really fast and cover the most important points. In your business, say, if I was really, really good at prospecting, well, then I would have far more better people to speak to. So therefore, I'm going to get really, really good at prospecting. Now, another way that you can get more done faster is to work with other people, is to do things together.
When you practice solitude, you actually activate your superconscious mind and your intuition. And something that you've been having trouble with or wrestling with suddenly becomes clear and you know exactly what to do. Now here's the wonderful thing about solitude. Everybody who practices it will tell you it's incredible. And if you've never done it before, just practice it once. Sometime today, take 25, 30 minutes, take an hour if you can, and just sit quietly by yourself and allow your mind to calm. Sometimes it's called mind calming. And just allow yourself to calm down and think. And the most amazing things will happen. You'll start to make better decisions. You'll start to hear what is called the still small voice within. And the still small voice sometimes will shout at you so loudly you will be amazed. Now here's another way to think better. When you're dealing with any kind of a situation, write down every detail of the problem or situation. Take a sheet of paper, and the rule is think on paper, and write down every detail. How it happened, what's going on, the problems, the concerns, the cost, who's involved. Just write it down.
When you get frustrated, you pursue for as long as it takes. So I have a question for you. Are you disciplined enough to keep going? Music. Can I tell you something? You ain't met the real you. Until you have to use your power, that's the real you. Many of you are like a superhero. Truth, we told you you ought to rejoice, because you have love, power, joy, power, faith, power. You also have comeback power. What is comeback power? Comeback power is the ability to overcome any obstacle, challenge, or difficulty. You have this innate ability, this instinct on the inside. Come back from. Anything your human side quits everything quickly.
Get people who cooperate. For instance, sometimes I will sign 100 books. But when I've agreed with a client that I'll autograph 100 books, then I have 2 people, my staff members. One sits on one side and they open the book forward, open to the signature page. And I quickly sign it and shove it to my right, and there's a second person there that takes the book and packs it. And so it goes bang, 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 bang. I can get through 100 books in 10 minutes. Whereas if I did it myself, it would take me half an hour. So sometimes you can work with others. Another thing we talked about is bunch your tasks. Bunching your tasks means do a lot of, again, like signing books, sign all 100 books at once. Do all of your letters or proposals at once. Do all of your prospecting at once. Bunch your tasks. And another thing that you can do, and one of the greatest of all time savers, is to downsize, outsource, delegate, and eliminate low-value tasks.
You start. Relationship on Monday, and did you quit it by Wednesday because y'all miscommunicate because you miss one text, and it's over. That's your human side. But then you got this other side that can come back from anything. There's a part of you that don't throw in towers. There's a party that never says die. There's a part of you that refuses to quit. There's a part of you that is long-suffering. There's a part of you that, when you get down for the count, they count up to 8, they can count to 9. Pretend you are back on your feet. There's a part of you that no matter what comes your way, you just got to bounce back up. You can't stay down.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control, where we inspire and motivate you. Hope you enjoy the video.
You know, one of the things that human beings underestimate dramatically is their capacity to get great at something if they're totally immersed in it, totally laser focused on something. You are way more powerful than you know you are if you went crazy, psycho, obsessed, laser focused on anything, even something you're totally ill prepared for. Humans have an unreal capacity to get great at things, even if they don't have a natural talent for it, if they're immersed in it, and to learn something and acquire a ton of knowledge in a short period of time as well. Because the truth of the matter is, in society today, society is conspiring all the time in our culture to completely distract you so you never win. To just divert your focus and attention. Look over here, look at this shiny thing, look at this TV show, look at this sports team, worry about what's going on here in this war. And they get these different things on television and our phones and in our lives to just get us distracted so we never get obsessed, we never get laser focused for an extended period of time. Ask yourself truthfully, your big goals and dreams, are you really clear on what they are? You know how mandatory it is to be clear and specific for what you want, right? But then the next layer is this. Can you get laser obsessively focused almost to its exclusivity, almost, but for an extended period of time? Can you honestly say you've done that for an extended period? I'm talking about a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, even a decade, towards something you want so badly. You want it like oxygen. It's like you want it like you want to eat. You want it like you want to live, right? Well, are you extendedly laser focused on it, or do you get distracted easily? Our obsessions become our possessions, but we won't possess them if we're not truly obsessed. I bet there's been a person in your life you've been obsessed with. If you're over 20 years old, listen to this, more than likely you've had somebody you were pretty obsessed with, haven't you? That you wanted in your life, you wanted to date, you wanted as a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a significant other. How many times a day did you think about them? How many times a day did they distract you from what you were doing with just the thought of them? In other words, this is what I want you to understand. When you're laser obsessed focused, your obsession distracts you from what you're currently doing, not the other way around. You're not really obsessed with it if you're easily distracted from it. This is so important. You right now can test whether it's your obsession with whether it distracts you constantly. The first thing you think of when you wake up, last thing before you go to bed. When you have a big laugh, it comes up. When you cry, it comes up. When you're watching TV, it comes up. When you're doing your regular job, but it's your side hustle, it comes up. You can't stop thinking about it. It distracts you from the rest of your life. That's what an obsession does. When it's not really your obsession, the rest of your life distracts you from it. And so the it in your life is so important. But there's all these things that distract us today. I'm going to give you a recommendation. Turn your damn TV off. Turn the radio off most of the time. Turn your phone off a lot too. So here's the deal. The TV's competing constantly to distract you with stuff that really doesn't matter. And I'm not saying, by the way, don't be informed, don't know what's going on in the world, because that makes you more interesting, right? You should know what's going on in the world. But let's be real. Does it really matter what's going on with the Kardashians right now? What happens in their life doesn't dramatically impact mine, but how many people are more obsessed with the Kardashians? Don't be so obsessed with them. Be obsessed with your own reality TV program called Your Own Life. How about the news? All the time they're trying to distract us. Before it was Obama, now it's Trump. Trump's going crazy today. Obama was nuts about this. Healthcare, Iraq, Iran, North Korea, right? Like all these things. And most of these things don't impact our own lives. I'm not saying don't know about them, but it's such a convenient escape from the work. It's such a convenient escape from our obsessions.
You talk about people dying from disease. Look, people die from negativity every day. You have been negative. You know why? Because the number one dominating force on planet Earth is the media. The media, 800 TV channels spew negativity onto the American public and every other country on planet Earth. They just puke it on you. Oh, but I watch Fox. Good. They puke at Fox and they do at MSNBC. It's just you're in agreement with the puke. I got some conservative puke, I got some liberal puke, and you got Stossel in the middle. He's like, okay, I'm just an independent puker. Dude, puke is puke.
The left against the right, Republicans against Democrats. Who's going to be the next president? Who's going to get the Democratic nomination? Can they beat Trump, right? Who cares? Who cares right now? You got to win in your own life. It's like, when I say this, people say, well, that's not, a very professional, evolved opinion. I'm just telling you what it takes to win. What it takes to win is not worrying about all that stuff. That should be the background noise. But talking about it, thinking about it, watching TV about it. Who cares what's going on in the real whatevers of anywhere? Who cares what the Kardashians are doing? Who cares who's running for office now? You say, well, wait a minute. Aren't you socially conscious? Here's all I know. I've been alive through many different presidents, Republican and Democrat. None of them changed my life. None of them did. And none of them are going to change your life if we're being real. I think grassroots movements of good people and communities change the world. I don't think politicians change the world. If you think about it, the majority of people obsessed with politics I'm just meaning this nicely, they don't have much going on in their own life. So it's a convenient distraction to be mad at a politician because you're losing. It's a convenient distraction to get caught up in some issue outside of yourself so you don't have to focus on your own life. If you can spend enough time obsessing about what these politicians or reality stars do, no one will look at you. But eventually in your life, you're faced with you. Eventually in your life, it's you. Eventually it's your life. Eventually they won't be on TV. Eventually it'll all be gone. Remember how obsessed you were with President Obama, whether you loved him or hated him? He's gone now. So getting obsessed with these things doesn't matter. Men, so many of you obsessed with sports. You're fans of these teams. Did it really change your life when the Patriots won the Super Bowl? Like, if you're a Patriot fan, on Saturday they hadn't yet won. On Sunday night they won. How different was your life? Tom Brady's life was different. Yours wasn't. You Laker fans or basketball fans, does it really matter? Like, if your team wins, does it really matter? I got news for you guys. You don't play for the team. You don't. I know you think you do. I know you wear their jerseys. I think it's one of the funniest things in life, and I don't mean this critically. Please, I mean this as a brother, guys. But you running around wearing a jersey with an other grown man's name on the back of it. Isn't that a little bit ridiculous? But really, a grown-ass man, you're wearing the name of another man on the back of your jersey every single day. Literally, your name isn't Bryant or James or Trout or Brady, but you wear their name on the back of you? Isn't that a little bit odd? We won Sunday. No, we didn't win. They won. You got to go back to work on Monday. You don't play for that team. And it's time you wake up and start getting focused on your own life. I'm not saying don't watch the game, but being obsessed with it throughout the week. Who's injured? Who's hurt? Are we going to win? We aren't doing anything because you don't play for them. In fact, players trade teams so much. What you really are rooting for is like laundry. You root for the team that has like this jersey that's your color, but the players change all the time. Yet you keep rooting for these teams. What a catastrophic. I go to enjoy the game once in a while and how great they are as athletes, but what a catastrophic waste of your own life to be worrying about what professional athletes do and pretending to be on their team. You're not on the team. You don't win or lose. They do, right? They do. So wake up and get focused on your own goals. It might be some author you love. It might be something like that for men or women. For women, some of you, it's sports as well. But the fact of the matter is all of these things are a distraction from our own lives. You don't play for these teams. You're not on these shows and you don't know these people. And whoever wins a Grammy or an Oscar doesn't change your life. You winning in your life is what changes it. So tune out the distractions, will you please? Turn your TV off. Get focused in your own life. Invest those hours on podcasts like this that actually impact your life. Invest it on someone's social media like mine who's actually putting out messages about your life. And guess what the people at the top of everything have in common? They're obsessed on their own lives, not other people's. Those athletes you admire didn't get there by worrying about your life, did they? And so tune out the distractions in our lives. Turn the TV off. Get some perspective. Get obsessed. Because we do it because it's an escape, because we don't have to look at ourselves. I'm challenging you to look at yourself. So what I'm telling you is CNN, ESPN, Fox News, right? The E channel, they're out to take you from your dreams. They're part of the enemy of stealing your dreams because they had just Not consciously, but they take your time. They divert your focus.
I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I mean, you can believe that or not. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. You walk around on your financial knees. They call you economic peewee.
What other things divert our focus? The things in life that don't matter. Our own negative thoughts, our own insecurities, our own weaknesses. These distract us. Failure distracts us. Gossiping of other people distracts us. Talking about other people, worrying about haters, getting caught up in things that don't matter in our life. Drugs and alcohol distract us. There's all these things. When you start to pile them into life, what's your distraction? Just be honest. Netflix, video games, gossip, haters, your problems. Are you distracted with things that don't matter in your life? There's all these things competing to get you to not be focused. How about your insecurities? How about your fears? How about your worries or your problems? Are you using all of these? Do you your relationship issues, does it distract you from your big goals? Do you let these things, do you almost willingly do it? Here's what I think. Most of us are willing participants in our own distraction. And we need to be willing participants in our own focus, in our own obsessions, and getting ourselves back on plan. Because remember what I told you, if you're really obsessed, the obsession will distract you from these things. But if you're not obsessed, these things will distract you from that thing.
We'd like to thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
%99 of people that say stuff like that are not willing to do what it takes to make their dreams come true. The Marines have a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that's just real. At the center of bringing any dream into fruition is self-discipline. You know, something as simple as food and eating. It's not about your body as much as it is about your mind. It's getting command of your mind to be able to choose actions that are in your own best interest. Every day we are choosing that's not in our own best interest, right? So if the world is attacking you and the world wants to fight you and the world's trying to hold you down, so you're gonna kick yourself in the balls? So you're gonna stop yourself from getting what you dream. Self-discipline is the center of all material success. You cannot win the war against the world if you can't win the war against your own mind.
John H. Johnson said something that's very important. He said there is no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need. See, whatever you decide to do, look at it and find out what is it that I have that I could bring to the table that can begin to enable me to ensure that I could be successful in this. Where is the opening for you? There's room for you out here in the arena called life. There's room for you to come out and live your dream. Don't allow but to keep you in the corner or keep you up in the bleachers looking at life, being a spectator, not being a participant, making a difference in life. I believe that all of us came here with something. All of us showed up to give something, and that nobody's going to give that service that you have to give. No one's going to produce your product. No one's going to write your book. No one's going to open your academy. No one's going to begin to create your daycare with a special curriculum to help to cultivate the high self-esteem in our children. That's your idea. And if you don't bring your idea out here, when you die, all of us will suffer because we've been deprived of your genius because you allowed but to keep you in the bleachers and not pursuing your greatness. You take it to your grave with you. And that's what most people do. I think that's why the guy said that many people die at age 21 and don't get buried until they're 65. They're walking dead. You can tell them by the way they walk, how they look in the face, when they speak to you. I was giving a speech in this high school, and a lady came after school. She said, Mr. Brown, I want to talk to you about my son. I said, what is it? She said, he's not motivated. I said, I wonder why. You got to have energy, ladies and gentlemen. You got to have life. If you're excited about what you're doing, even in the area of selling, you know people don't buy because of logical reasoning. People buy because of your way of feeling. People don't like to be around dead people. Oh, no, let the dead bury the dead. No, keep them away from you before they grab you and want to hold on to you and stuff. So the fact that whatever you do, you want to be excited about it. You want to have the kind of excitement that is so contagious that people want to be around you. Because whatever you're doing, whatever you talk to people about, this particular idea that you have, they're looking at you and they want to know, do you believe it? And are you the kind of person they want to be in business with? And if you're not positive, if you're not energetic, if you're not fired up about it, how can you expect anybody else to be fired up about your idea? Am I right? I'm going to be fired up about my dream. I'm going to go at it with everything I got.
Hugely important to me to maintain a certain energy. It's like it's healing, it's loving, it's kind, and I learned really young that my energy was infectious. Right? So when, I come into the studio, long after I leave, the energy that I bring is still going to be here, and then people are going to take it home and they're going to affect their families with it. So, for me, it's hugely important to maintain just positive, loving energy. You're always grateful. Yeah, I'm really happy. It's funny. I worked with Gene Hackman, and we had a thing every morning because Gene Hackman wasn't a morning person, and this is what I do in the morning. So every morning I would say, "Hey, good morning, Mr. Hackman." He'd say, "How you doing, Will?" I'd say, "Hey, man, I'm just happy to be here." He would say, "No, you're lucky to be here." So we would do that every morning, but it became my way of just getting it up and getting it going. It's just I love it.
And so once you've embraced and decided that this suffering, this sacrifice you're making is an indicator of progress. It's an indicator of obsession. Suffering and sacrifice and hard work is an indication of progress towards our dreams. The lack of sacrifice, the lack of suffering in our lives, its removal, its non-existence also equates to a non-existence of a great life, a non-existence of a dream happening, a big one anyway. And so embrace the fact that you're going to have to sacrifice and suffer to some extent. Once you've embraced that it's going to happen, it's almost not that bad. It's kind of like those of you that are fit. We already know, and you already know even if you're not, you've sort of accepted that before you go to the gym and get there, you're going to have to suffer. And we go anyway. It becomes a habit. No one goes into a gym thinking, I'm not going to have to sacrifice or suffer. There'll be no discomfort or no pain. But millions of people go anyway, don't they, to the gym? On some level, they're suffering in the gym, whether it's breathing heavy or sweating or aches or pains or stress. Everything in the gym is a sacrifice, and to some extent, you're suffering, going through some pain. You know it before you go, don't you? Yet most of us go all the time. Yet in life, outside of that one area, most of us are worried about suffering. We're afraid of it. When we're suffering and sacrificing, we wonder whether it's worth it. We wonder whether we're supposed to. We wonder whether sacrifice or setbacks or suffering is a sign it's not our real dream, don't we? See, at the gym, you'd never think, I'm going through some pain and discomfort. This must be a sign I shouldn't be at the gym. You'd never think that. It goes with the territory. Everyone knows this. Build a bicep or a tricep or a chest or legs. You have to break it down, suffer and sacrifice for it to grow. So while it's happening, there's no part of you that says this isn't right. In fact, the indication of the pain and sacrifice and sweat, don't you feel better at the gym? You're like, wow, I really sacrificed today. I really suffered. So in that area, we all know to the extent we suffer and sacrifice is to the extent we grow. And your body is a metaphor for the rest of your life. But the rest of our life, every time we sweat, every time we sacrifice, every time we suffer, we don't do what we do at the gym. We start saying, well, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Maybe I'm not cut out. Maybe it's not my destiny. Maybe I just can't do it. It's the most unbelievable, ridiculous conclusion we draw, but it's what everybody does, which is another form of distraction, is doubt. The coins flip on each other all the time, don't they? Another form of distraction is just doubt. And doubt comes from the suffer. It comes from a loss. It comes from fear. It comes from the sacrifice. And so just remember this. You're supposed to suffer and sacrifice. So let me ask you a question. What are you willing to risk in order to make your dream come true? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You're going to take a risk. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's a risk of time. Maybe it's a risk at your job. Maybe it's a risk of looking bad. Maybe it's a risk of failing, of falling on your face, of going broke, of going through pain, of going through anxiety. Maybe it's even a risk in a relationship that's just going to be difficult while you do this. What are you willing to risk in order to win?
Fail early, fail often, fail forward. It's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. When you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure, because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure and they use that, the energy, and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're going to fail. That's the reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit. You can't lift that. You can't do that. Until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward.
I realized that God always has a plan, and most of the times that if he slows you down because he wants you to think about some things. And so I had a lot of things to think about on my way here. And I want you to dive in with me for a minute, right? Because what's the true responsibility of leadership? What does that look like? The real responsibility of leadership. So there's three tiers that we're going to tap into. One of the greatest qualities that I truly believe leadership is all about is you must be selfless. Right now, selfless it's a couple of the things that you can make fit inside of it too. Because you have to be it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about we. How do we make this happen? Right? And something happened to me early in life that made me transition into thinking as an altruistic person. I wanted to figure out, I said, what's this thing? Like, Mom, I'm trying to figure it out at 10 years old. I'm like, Mom, why my father ain't around? Like, what's going on? Then Mama grabbed me one day and she says to me, she says, baby, listen, I don't have time for you to be a child. I need you to be a young man right now. My mom sat me down, I'll never forget it. She taught me how to cook, clean, braid, fold, plait, iron, wash, scrub. And I'm like, Mom, why are you teaching me all this? She said, because I need you to help me take care of your brothers and sisters. So when I started to understand that, I said, well, Mom, can I go outside and play? And then she looked at me and she said, look, don't ever leave my house. I'm like, okay, wow. What kid comes home and can't leave the house? So then I started to become a very selfless person, because the only thing that mattered to me at that point in time was my brothers and sisters, was figuring out a way. My mom worked 3 jobs. My mom was never home. My mom made it to 1985, my first football game ever, and she never made it to another one my entire career. So I became this person. I became this power that said, okay, Mama can't do it. Daddy ain't here. So it's up to me. So as a leader, very early, did I understand it then? Absolutely not. But did I understand what Mama said? Mama said, I need you not to be a kid, but to understand the roles of a young man. Our kids now
then there was a phone call. You got a phone call, right? And somebody said, hey, come and talk to us.
Yeah, I moved to Beverly Hills.
Because that's what you should do when you become successful.
Yeah,
right?
when I get there, a friend of mine said, you've got to come and tell your story to my service club. You belong to the Rotary. And he said, if I arrange this breakfast meeting, I think our luncheon meeting, he said, would you come, just do a little 30-minute talk and tell your story? And he said, we'll call it Idaho Farm Boy Makes It to Beverly Hills. I said, okay, suits me. So I did this little talk, and evidently they enjoyed it. Before the day was over, I got a couple more invitations. You got to come talk to our service club, tell that same story, share those same ideas. That started me thinking about, really becoming involved in teaching and training. I'd done a lot of training and inspiring in my own entrepreneurial organizations, but not for the public. So I started doing these little talks for service clubs, and once in a while a high school class, college class, enjoying it very much. Then one day a man said to me, I've heard your talk now 2 or 3 times, and I've got this little company going. And he said, if you would come make a presentation, I'd be happy to pay you. And I thought, incredible.
There's a job.
Yeah. Could I really share my story and get paid? He said, I'll be happy to do it.
Wow.
So I did that. Then that led to another one and another one. Then later on the idea occurred, why not have some representatives out selling tickets to come and hear a public seminar.
Yeah.
And we finally put that together. And that was, all those many, many years ago.
What was the culture like back then when you guys were out barnstorming America and really developing the whole personal development culture that now is so prominent in America? What was that like?
It was exciting. Of course, I gave it all away. Huh. All those speeches I did in colleges, high schools, and for service clubs and so on, that was all free. Then when somebody offered to pay me, that put a whole new look on it. And then I began this process of creating something valuable enough to where someone would buy a ticket and go and listen. And those were exciting days. The first one I did for pay, I think I had about 45 or 50 participants that bought tickets. A lot of them were friends of mine that I'm sure bought because they were friends of mine, but there were some others that, legitimately bought at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills. And that first public seminar for people buying tickets, I think, was 1961 or 62. Developed to where I am now, traveling the world and telling my story and still sharing ideas. But it was a fantastic time.
And I got my bag and I see my auntie answer the phone. She said, Inky, it's this coach on the phone. He want to talk to you. I said, is a basketball coach? She said, no, he's a new football coach at Crim. I'm like, all right, I'll give him a couple minutes. I get on the phone with him. He said, what you up to, man? I said, nothing, heading to basketball practice. He said, oh, you had the basketball practice? I said, yeah, man. He said, you don't want to play football no more? I said, no, I'm done with football. I said, I'm going to the NBA, be a point guard. He said, oh, I want you to go look on NBA rosters and see how many 5'9" point guards you see. Then he said, I want you to look on NFL rosters and tell me how many cornerbacks you see. That's 5'9", and you called me back. I went and worked out, ran a 40, did agility drills. We're walking off the field. He says to me, son, what college do you want to go to? I said, man, I just want to go D1. He said, no, you didn't hear me. What college do you want to go to? I said, man, I just want to go D1. He said, no, you didn't hear me. He said, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm willing to fight for you. Do you want it? He said, I know you're a warrior, but you got a warrior beside you. I'm willing to go just as far as you're willing to go. Do you want it? He said, or do you want to stay in that 2-bedroom home with 14 people? I just need to know, are you willing to fight for what you said you wanted? I said, I'm on board. Let's go. He said, if we go 1-9, I just need to know you're going to show up and give me everything you got. And if you show up and give me everything you got, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give you everything I got. So when I got my scholarship to Tennessee, the first person I went to was my high school coach. I grabbed him, I hugged him, I kissed him and told him I loved him. Coaches at every phase of my life, I was never anything special. I was always a kid that wanted to do well. I was always a kid that tried to stay out of trouble. I was always a kid that treated people right. But at every phase of my life, I had amazing people that came in and saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself, and I knew they cared beyond anything else. In my first meeting with my host, they said, Inky, what's your plan? I said, man, I just want to come here, play about 3 years, and go to the NFL. They said, all right, that sounds cool. They said, have you ever been to a sorority party? I said, no, I've never been. They said, man, we take you to a sorority party tonight. Like, we're going to be cool, jamming. I said, cool. I said, can you take me to the Marriott? He said, yeah, I'll take you to the Marriott. Go up to the Marriott, I'm getting out of the car. I said, man, I'll catch you tomorrow. He said, man, are you sick? Like I told you, you got to go to this party. I said, no, brother, I'm not sick. I said, this is my first time being in the room with my own bed, and it's king size at that. I said, bump that sorority party.
It's easy to get discouraged and accept that it's never going to work out. But God said in Zephaniah 3, I will turn things around for my people. He's a turnaround God. He turns barren wombs into babies. He turns red seas into dry pathways. He turns 5 loaves and 2 fish into dinner for thousands. He turns skin filled with leprosy into skin as clear as a little baby. When thoughts tell you your situation is permanent, you'll never get out of this problem, never get well, never see your family restored. No, get ready, a turnaround is coming. God is about to turn sickness into health, turn addictions into freedom, turn lack into abundance, turn struggle into ease. You're coming in to a turnaround season. You're going to see the hand of God do things that are unusual, uncommon, out of the ordinary. This is what Zechariah said. God has turned my mountains into molehills. Mountains represent obstacles, things that look permanent, like it's immovable. Depression can be a mountain. Feels like you'll always struggle with it. A mountain can be people at work that are not for you. They have more seniority. What can you do about it? Or how about a mountain of debt, lack, can't get ahead? It's been in your family for years. This is a new day. That mountain is about to be turned to a molehill. God is about to flatten some things out.